Go.
We're live. Look at that. Game day 716. You've got Noah, CJ, Todd, all here, all together. Three of us live and in person. It is 7:08. Hopefully you know where your children are. Noah,
Yes.
we have an important announcement.
Yes. Yes, we do. Paul is no longer with us. We appreciate everything Paul has brought to game day. It's been an honor working with Paul. We appreciate him all the best in his future endeavors, but no longer will he be a part of Game Day 716.
Paul will be very missed. And I think I say that for all of us. And that's pretty much all we need to say. He left to pursue his own endeavors. So that's our big announcement for the week.
Yep.
At least non-sports announcement. So we had some fun watching football last week. What'd you do, Noah?
Just hit the wrong thing. What are you doing?
I pressed the button.
Stop pressing buttons.
I had to see. So, all right. We good now?
We're good. Yeah, go.
Okay. I stopped pressing buttons. So,
okay.
All right. So the Bills are good. They beat the Jets 27-10. I think out of all of our scores,
you were the closest.
I don't know. You guys were in the 30s. I had 21-0, if you remember.
Right.
In the end. You guys 33-17, 35-17, 21-0. So none of us were close.
It happens.
It happens. Yeah. What did we think of the game? That was a lot of fun to watch, I think. Came away with some concerns, but also feeling somewhat confident going into New England, so which we'll get to later. So let's do one thing we liked and one thing we didn't like. Then we'll decide if we talk too long and go around again if we didn't. So one thing I liked was the fact that it was the Jets, because the Bills didn't seem on to me. And so they were able to get some confidence, I think, or at least they said they did in public. They were able to get some confidence because it was the Jets. And so I think that was what I liked, was that they were lucky enough to play the Jets in the last week and continue on their 3-game win streak now. 4? Yeah, that's what I said. 4 games. So,
yeah, it is. Sure.
Yeah. So the Bills finish the season. They finish the season 11 and whatever. 6. So I meant to go back to our predictions and I didn't have time to do it. So we'll collect on those later. But Noah, what's something you liked?
The offensive line. Again, Deion Dawkins has been playing outstanding the past month. It looks like his bout with COVID and the ramifications that came from that seem to be over. I mean, he was decking people. I know it's the Jets, but they have a good defensive line at bare minimum.
Yep.
It was funny though. I just want to throw this in there, talking about good things for the Jets. We had Jets fans in front of us at the game, and the only thing that they were really rooting for was special teams the whole time. They were like, we got to play the field position. We got to play the field position.
Well, that worked for them because our punter had a problem.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, he did. But yeah, shout out the offensive line. Another clean week. He kept Josh mostly upright. There were only a few times, maybe near the end, where it felt like the pressure kind of got there, but not even then. Really, I never really felt like the Jets put a lot of pressure at any point on Josh. But yes, that was one thing I like. That offensive line has come to play. The second game in a row with these guys. So,
well, Bates has seemed to be a key,
yeah,
I think, or a cog or something that's.
him and Dawkins have something on that
And
left
Morse,
side.
and I'm sorry, Morse.
Yeah, Mitch Morse is just an animal. I mean, he was out there again, pancaking people, running people over. He's a man possessed.
Yeah.
It's awesome to watch.
And then there's also the right side who's doing fine.
Yeah,
so CJ,
minus Darren
what
Williams, who
did you
stepped
like?
on Josh.
I agree with Noah in that the line, coming together late in the season is kind of what you want to see, especially going into the playoffs. I know, again, preface everything I'm about to say, but it was the Jets, and their team is not obviously one of the better teams in the NFL, probably one of the top 3 worst, if not the worst. And so the line
had 4 wins. Come on now.
Okay, so does that bring them out of the top or the bottom 3, or is that
no?
still...
I think they're still in the bottom 3.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. That's what I thought. Yeah, so the line was something I actually just the line was something that I just thought about because of what Noah's comments were. But my original, what I liked was going to be, again, trying to get the running game going with Singletary, giving him most of the looks. I've been a big advocator of that over the past couple of weeks, and they've been kind of doing it. So you've seen Singletary get a little bit, just kind of pull away from the rest of the guys, and that's good to see. Another thing that I thought was good was the defense played well. Holding them under 100 yards is pretty incredible. Again, everything I said about the Jets being the Jets. Still, you'd like to see the defense playing well, again, especially going into the playoffs. So those were my couple things that I thought I liked.
Yeah, no, I think that's as always some really great analysis. One thing I didn't like was that they were playing the Jets and didn't look like they dominated, or didn't feel like they dominated. I know, Noah, we have different opinions on that, but there was definitely, at least for me, some uneasiness coming out and not. I mean, Josh went something like 26 for 49 or something like that. I don't know if that's even close to the numbers he had, but he threw like nearly like 50% or 55 or something like that.
Josh was 24 for 45.
Yeah, that makes more sense. So yeah, that's like what, 54% or something, 56%. I don't know. It's math in my head, so I know you're worse at it than I am. So, but
said it was 23. What did he do? 23 for what?
He was 24 for 45. He was 53%.
Okay.
53. That's what I said. The first number that. Okay. So, I guess though, whenever you hold a team under 100 yards, regardless of who it is, you're doing something right. I guess maybe the other thing I don't like is that this 4-game winning streak at the end, unless they look awful against New England, really kind of puts Dable and Frazier out there as strong head coaching candidates. And I just keep hoping they all stick together. So, Noah, where are you at? One thing you didn't like?
I mean, one thing I didn't like, it was the offensive struggles. They did really struggle until it's like they didn't all of a sudden. It was cold. It wasn't super windy, so it wasn't like, Josh was throwing balls and they were flying up in the air or something. But I guess the one thing I really didn't like was Cole Beasley and Gabe Davis not making their catches. Because with this lingering Emmanuel Sanders injury, if that happens against New England, I mean they're gonna find a way to stop the McKenzie and the slot stuff. So that's not gonna fly again. So you have to find something new to come at them with. And the new thing should just be, we're the Bills and we're better than you. Our offense is better than you. And we have X, Y, and Z as options. And it felt like this was the Stephon Diggs game with a sprinkle in of Dawson Knox. I didn't really feel like Davis or Beasley contributed. They had some key drops that would have kept drives going, may not have turned into points, but it would have kept drives going on third down, especially. So, I mean, it's going to be another cold game where you're going to have the footballs being hard again. And when you hit the ground, it's going to be hard. And, we can't stumble against New England because New England likes to take advantage of mistakes. They like to take advantage of opportunities to turn on points when they're there. And if we're punting like we were and we're doing that, you're giving Mac Jones and that offense too many chances, especially with a healthy backfield that they're going to be coming into Buffalo with. So I guess that would be one thing I didn't like.
CJ.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've already kind of touched on this in the group chat, but my big thing was, after the first touchdown was scored, we went field goal, punt, 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 field goal, punt, 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 punt. And that worried me because a lot of those punts were, I mean, even if they got a first down, I'd say more than 50% of them were 3 and outs. And so, again, against a better team, the other team is going to capitalize in that situation. We're not going to be able to hold a better offense to field goal to 10 points by doing that. And so that's pretty much my biggest concern was what was going on there. I felt like Josh, I know you guys talked a little bit about the drops, but I also felt like Josh was a little bit off at certain times. There was a couple big plays where the ball was just over the guy's head. Had he dropped it in the bucket, those looked like touchdowns, but they weren't really there. And it's minute. It's not that he's off by 10 feet or so. It's a couple feet. It's not much. But again, that mixed with what happened in between scores, for such a long period of time where we scored and then went such a long period of time without scoring again. I worry that in the playoffs, when you're playing a better offense, other offenses will be able to take advantage of that. And if we do something like that in the playoffs, I almost will guarantee you that we will lose. So as long as we can not do that, I think that will be okay. Again, to the point that somebody else made, there is not many other teams that I am worried about right now in the playoffs. There's teams that are, I would say, very close to us, but I wouldn't say that one specific team is way far and above us. I would say, but
especially in the AFC.
Exactly. And so that kind of helps me feel a little bit more confident, but even still, I'm not as confident going, if you do that in a game again, that we'll be able to pull it out.
I mean, that's not going to fly against Kansas City, in my opinion. I mean, punting that many times and giving them that many chances to score. Yeah. I mean, thank God they were playing the Jets.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, to CJ's point, most of those drives were 3 and out. Most of those punts. I think there was one where they got a first down on, but every single other one was a 3 and out. Yeah. And that's definitely a problem. You were talking about it being a Stephon Diggs game. He did get his 9 receptions that he needed.
He needed 6 and got 9. Yeah,
got 9. It was a good week for a lot of people. So across the league, I don't know if you were watching some of the highlights, but they kind of highlighted all of the different players who were getting bonuses and things like that because of everything that happened for him.
Yeah, Brady wouldn't come out of the game in the fourth quarter until he got Gronk his catches.
His 7 catches. Yeah. And then Gronk was on the sideline going, We got a Millie. We got a Millie. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So I thought that was funny. I saw that highlight, but yeah. I mean, I think that pretty much covers the ups and the downs of where we're at. You know, I don't know what there is to say about the defense. The defense dominated like they should have.
Right.
Probably more than they should have, right? I mean, they had like 84 sacks or something. And everyone was involved. I mean, it was really
Russo
know,
looked really good again. I think, in my
yeah.
opinion, on defense line, at least, he stood out a lot.
Yeah. And Edmonds, I thought, played out of his mind in that game. For
I'm going
once,
to.
he wasn't. For once, he wasn't over pursuing. He was just
there.
He was right where he was supposed to be, and I really liked seeing that. So, Noah, you were gonna hop on that?
Yeah, I was just. I mean, we're talking about defensive guys who are good. I mean, I think this was another showing of Ed Oliver that he is that guy that we all hoped he would. This athletic freak that can toss people aside. He did that a few times. He just never gets rewarded with a sack. But
well, he got a sack and a half.
I know he did, but I feel like he should have had more with the amount of times he was back there. But
well, I think you got to look at think about the Aaron Donald effect too, though, and if that's the case, and he ends up being the number 2 to that kind of like tier list, right? You got Aaron Donald and like nobody else really. So if he can end up being that number 2 guy that is not really getting a bunch of sacks but super disruptive, again, that would be ideal. You know what I mean? And I think everybody would take that. I know, like, obviously stats are huge for people that I would say for not people that really know as much about the game, so when you look at a stat sheet, you want to see what a guy does, see if he's contributing. You look for sacks, you look for pass deflections, but even still, there's ways you can see it on the tape. You can see it in the game. He's affecting the game, and I think as long as he keeps it up, I think that he's going to be solid for a while. So,
yeah, definitely. I mean, you sort of have a combination between a poor man's Aaron Donald and a poor man's Warren Sapp, what you're seeing right now, which is pretty nice, playing next to, and he's playing next to Phillips, and I mean they even effectively use Star. Like I noticed he was on the field and that he was making holding holes and that kind of thing. So that was I guess from that standpoint, that's a good warm up for New England, which we'll get to. But so let's stick around. We'll talk about the Patriots. So all of our viewers from Boston, you can hold on. We'll get to you. So week 18, best week of football we've seen in a long time.
It's wild.
I'd have to say the upsets, the crazy games. That Sunday night game was even nuts, where they could have just kneed it and tied and both gotten in. Like, that was just every single game seemed to have something crazy happen in it.
Did you see that at the end? They kind of tried to say that Eckler mouthed to one of the Raiders players, and he said, "Were you guys going to kneel it?" And the Raiders guy said, "Yes, had you not taken the timeout or whatever." Right. How much do you believe that? Do you believe I have a hard time believing that they would have knelt it and ended the game with a tie. I don't know. I did look at how much Judge got fired this week, pretty much because he did something like that, where he kneeled or did like a QB sneak in 3rd and 9 or something stupid.
They did 2 straight QB sneaks.
Right towards the end of the half, if I'm not mistaken, or what, they wanted to go to halftime. I think it was.
They were trying to make room for the punter, and it was like 2nd and 10, and they did a QB sneak and went 1 yard, and then they did it again on 3rd and 9. Like, what?
Yeah.
So and their QB who they were trying to run was Jake Fromm.
Right, and if you're in the interim the interim coach for the Raiders, right? Like, if you want to keep your job, or is that what you're going for? I don't think so. I mean, in my opinion, if I'm the interim coach and I'm trying to prove that I deserve to be here, I'm not kneeling it in that situation.
That's fair. I'm glad they didn't, because when we talked about matchup potential and matchup changes, the Chargers were the only ones in the AFC who scared me. I know their defense is so bad, but they do have playmakers still in their secondary, and
yeah, they're run funnel, so
yeah,
it works well against us, right? Like,
right.
you know what I mean? So like, if we go ahead, they would tell us, go ahead, let Singletary run it 25 times. I guarantee you that would be their ideal scenario, where Josh is just throwing it out, trying to throw the ball all over the place, and they're good enough on the back end, like you said, that they could have made it a little bit harder than like we wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So and then but the cornerback matchups, like you said, Williams and Allen versus Dane and
Levi.
Yeah, that they'd have had to have one of their better games. You know what I mean? Like they would have had, but probably if not their best game together so far. You know,
right? 2 over 6 foot guys who can run routes and run fast, going up against 2 guys who are sub 5'11". Like,
oh god, yeah.
So at least we're not playing the Chargers. Who we are playing is New England. Or do we want to talk about the Colts first and how they choked away their livelihood to the worst team in the league?
I think it's incredible. For all those reasons, like we played them, we got crushed by them, we didn't want to see them in the playoffs. You know, they were really feeling themselves for that 6-7 game stretch where they were getting a lot of wins, and I think they started the season 1-4 or something close to that. So it's incredible that they got to where they got to, and you almost looked at it as a lock. And I think that was, you know, what tripped them up too, is they were like, oh, you know, it's Jacksonville, and we kind of did the same thing. And Jacksonville's defensive line is a lot better than I think people give them credit for. And it showed. Indy line was just getting manhandled, and Indy's offensive line, I would say, is probably one of the better offensive lines in the league. So for them to be
top
getting
5 at least,
for them to be getting I said top 3 before, and I felt like I got ripped apart, so I didn't want to put a top anything in there. But yes, I agree. I was going to say I was literally about to say top 5. And for them to just get destroyed like they did against Jacksonville was kind of surprising, you know. And it was incredible. It was just incredible to watch, to see him keep throwing picks, fumble. You know, it's like, oh my God, they're, you know, you still thought they had a chance going into like the third quarter. They're down by maybe 10 or so, and you're like, and then more stuff kept going the other way, and it was wild.
So is this the end of 8%?
They came out and said that they haven't made a decision on a quarterback yet, which I think is pretty telling. So if they have another opportunity to pick somebody up, and they feel like they'll compete, or there'll be a better chance of him starting over Wentz, I think they pull that trigger, and I think they do that.
Do you feel like Carson Wentz gets like screwed over though, like every single time? I mean, I know like in the end it comes down to your own performance, but I feel like it comes down to your own performance, but like I feel almost bad for him because of like how things work out for him in the end. It's like, okay, he went to Indy and he performed all season and then fell apart, and now it's like his job's up in the air, and I don't know, it's very strange.
I'm sure the argument is made that, you know, Taylor was a big part of the key to his success, right? So in Indy's mind or whatever, you could sit there and say, oh, well, as long as we keep Taylor around, like, who cares who's, you know, like
I hope Frank Reich isn't not that though. You know,
I know, but I'm just, you know
what I mean?
I'm saying critics of his. I don't know specifically Reich, but I'm just saying people who would criticize Wentz would say that, oh, you know, and I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that the argument, I'm sure, has been made on the other side there.
Yeah, they're running their defense was the show.
Yeah,
Wentz was
100%.
riding the train.
But Phillip Rivers, they made the playoffs with them last year, and
That's true.
they almost beat us last year. And you were supposed to be getting an upgrade in Wentz, right? And you gave up a lot. You lost a first-round draft pick, and I don't care how you slice that. Like that's tough. It's a lot to give up for a player. I'm not saying they were wrong, because it definitely kept them competitive throughout the year, and especially when you thought they were done, he definitely played better, and so that's good for them. But yeah, it was wild to watch, and again, Pittsburgh having 8% chance, and that happening, and then it's crazy that the 8% chance pretty much was all based off of Jacksonville losing to Indy, right? I mean, because that just blows my mind that they had an 8% chance of losing that game and they lost it pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, that was hilarious. I don't know. I mean, just the way it all went down.
I was happy. I'm sitting here in Buffalo.
Yeah.
I'm sure Indy fans are gonna be upset about this, but I was happy sitting here like, wow, this is about to happen. This is about to happen. You know what I mean? Like, give me one team that I'm worried about out the playoffs. I'll love it. You know what I mean? Like,
right. That's exactly how I felt. Like, if you could have had teams not make it, it was Indy and the Chargers. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Neither of them got in.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the odds of that were, but they had to be really low for both Indy and the Chargers to not get in. And I think if the Bills had a sniff of Pittsburgh again, that they would probably kill them.
I think Pittsburgh's going to get destroyed by KC this week, but that's me.
Yeah. I just have this hope that the top seeds are gonna fall, and then someone's gonna beat the Titans, and the Bills are gonna have this cakewalk to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's my dream right now. My dream scenario is that they all stay healthy, everything is good, that kind of thing.
Right. The Pittsburgh defense shows up to play, and so they somehow pull out a 1-point victory or something against Kansas City. And
I mean, we know what Mahomes' kryptonite is, and that's getting to him with 4, right? So I think that Pittsburgh is one of the better teams at being able to do that with how strong their line is. So that's going to be a challenge. But my question mark is Ben Roethlisberger, and watching him play. And we called it from the first game that we watched. He can't throw over 20 yards. So then now you're really limiting a lot of your offense, because Claypool is your deep guy. And if you can't get him the ball 40 yards downfield, I mean, what is he really doing? I mean, a couple maybe design runs or whatnot, but to me, without him on the field, that stretches it. So you're really just going to be Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, and is that enough to keep up with
Freiermuth?
KC and their firepower. And what blowing me away with KC is the fact that they're doing it without Hill and Kelsey. Like, if you look at their last 3 games, touchdowns have not been coming from them. Touchdowns have been coming from Pringle or Hardman or anybody else. You know what I mean? And it's interesting that they're starting to he's really pushing the ball around. And I think that makes their offense a little bit more dynamic, to be honest with you, where you're not expecting certain guys to be the man that he's looking for anymore. And, so I think that'll help them. But I'm sorry to get off topic, but I thought
You're not off topic. You were talking about this exactly. So I think, with KC, it's a bit scary to think that Mahomes could be elevating his game heading into the playoffs, right? So that's the one thing that we don't want to happen. And that's why TJ Watt needs to just play out of his mind, right? And that's what it comes down to. It's TJ Watt versus Patrick Mahomes, and the rest will sort itself out. So and Cameron Hayward, I mean, they have some guys, right? So I think they even have guys who could probably cover Kelsey, and Fitzpatrick and Devin Bush and some of those guys. But that's Minka Fitzpatrick for those watching, not Ryan. So so let's actually talk about New England and how much we should be worried. How are we feeling, Noah? What are your thoughts?
I mean, they made some uncharacteristic mistakes on Sunday against Miami. Mac Jones threw some bad interceptions that Xavier Howard took advantage of for a pick six. They fumbled the ball. But the thing that I guess is worrying is the fact that even though Miami came out to that lead, and I'm not comparing Miami's and Buffalo's defenses, but New England changed up what they were doing offensively to find a way and come back against them
Yeah.
and at least make it a game. It kind of ran out of time on them. I felt. I think if there was an extra 5 minutes, there's a chance there New England wins. But the fact though that they were still able to like do the dump off to Bolden for the touchdown, to finally get the runs that they weren't getting, and like the fact that they turned it around like that, I think that's the most worrying thing. It does seem to be though that New England is just going to lose to Miami on the last game of the year every single season. So,
and then Miami's coach is going to get fired for some reason.
Yeah.
From New England.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little strange, and we'll talk about the coaching carousel in a little while. But yeah, my thoughts I think were hi mom.
I think we also always worry about New England.
Yeah, it's like that's how I feel. I'm not worried, but at the same time, I worry anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I look at it, right, the Bills are better than New England, right?
On paper,
on paper, yeah. If they execute, they'll win.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's
right.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I said earlier about the drops. Like I said, Beasley and Davis make some of those catches. A couple of those drives.
This still comes down to Allen. This still comes down to Allen.
Does the weather concern us at all, or no?
Last I saw, it's just supposed to be cold.
Okay, so not super windy, but just really cold.
Just cold. Yeah. So we'll
there's
know
a
more.
High of 10 on Saturday, so that's good.
Yeah.
But I don't see any wind in there, so that's
good.
I
mean, it's always windy at the stadium, but
right. But there's a difference between it being windy at the stadium and it being windy general.
At the stadium. Yeah. Or windy outside the stadium, which comes inside the stadium, whatever. So, so again, I guess to me, it still all comes down to Josh. I mean, what I see out of him, and I feel like I've seen this out of him every single game this year, is that he plays well after he gets hit. It's like he needs to be woken up. And that's even what I saw in the Jets game was when he did the long run and it got the adrenaline going and the juice is flowing, and he took a hit at the end of he ran that out of bounds. There was another run I'm thinking of though that he did take a hit on, and he started playing better. He started connecting on balls. He's that kind of thing. He started, hitting guys. And he just seemed more awake. And I just feel this has been a trend for him almost the entire season, that when he gets hit, he plays better. And I would like to see that happen and him take a hit early, wake up, and then just go out and play like you're Josh Allen, because I think that's what needs to happen. I don't know if you guys have seen the same thing or not, but that's sort of what I feel like I've seen continuously.
I feel like that happens more in games where they're like expected to win. They're expected to do well. Like he comes out and is just kind of like nonchalant about the whole thing. Cause that's kind of the way I felt he carried himself for a fair majority of the Jets game. Until he started to run, he started to get out of the pocket. Yeah, he got hit.
Speaking of the way guys were carrying themselves, before we move on, did you see Gardner Minshew's body language like during that game?
He just didn't look like he wanted to be there. Yeah,
right? You're playing for like
a job.
a job.
An opportunity. Yeah.
Right. Somewhere else. And it was like, what's going on, man? Like,
I almost feel like he felt like the team wasn't behind him. Like I don't know, if I'm in there with a bunch of guys that I feel like don't want me in there, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the vibe I got from him. Like, he was just like, oh, well, they don't want me here. I don't want to be here. Like,
yeah, he also just looked annoyed. Like,
Yeah.
a wide receiver would make a drop and he'd be like,
oh yeah,
you know, like,
speaking of that, what's his name looked like a child last night, Young, when he missed that one pass or whatever, and he just like slammed the ground. I don't know if you've seen that, but he looked like a little baby just whining about it.
well,
Sorry,
I mean,
just wanted to.
when the pick six happened and they came back out, I mean, they didn't even try.
Yeah.
I mean, he fell down on the last play of the game.
Yeah.
And Georgia didn't even touch him.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm
like,
done.
I don't know. It just, there's a difference. So like, I was thinking about it last night, and again, I don't mean to get off topic, but I was thinking about it last night and how there's like, I guess, a different way that you could just like kind of hit the ground without. So when your whole body is spread out and you're just kind of like that, whereas if you're kind of trying to get up and you just like pound the ground, I feel like it's a little bit different. But just his body language, the way it looked, it made him look more immature and like couldn't handle the moment. You know what I mean? And like, I've seen guys get frustrated and bang the ground, and I didn't feel the way I saw him. It just felt a little bit different. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But
so what my point was with Josh's body language, like, you really have three different Joshes, right? You have, which I think is kind of what Noah's pointing to.
Yeah.
And in the sense of, and this is where I say, like, Josh hasn't completely woken up yet. Like, he's just sort of sluggish and sort of just going through the motions and that kind of thing. And then you have the Josh who's locked in and dialed in, and that's the Josh that I feel like I see after he takes a hit. Like, he's really locked in. And then there's the Josh who we'll probably see starting the playoff game, right? That's Sugar Josh, where he's like an 8-year-old child, and that kind of thing. And so hopefully we don't see Sugar Josh, because that's been a trend that we don't like seeing in playoff games.
Yeah. Here's the thing I'll say about that, though, to counter that. Josh Allen has 4 playoff games under his belt now, including an AFC championship game. He's seen New England twice a year for 3 years in a row now, 4 years in a 3 years in a row, because I don't think he saw New England the first time in his rookie season. And then one of those losses, though, where you've seen them, and I'm going to keep harping on this, and I sound like a broken record, but one of those losses was Monday night at home, where they ran over you. They dominated the game. It was close, but it really felt like the Bills had no chance, and they did that in front of your home stadium.
Yeah.
Now you have a home playoff game as the number 3 seed, and you have the ability to knock these guys out of the playoffs. Your rivals. They are rivals at this point. I will say that. We used to say we've lost to them too many
when you
times.
have Patriots coming into your Twitter feeds, when you have Patriots fans coming into your Twitter feeds, it's becoming a rivalry.
Yeah. I mean, because we used to say when Brady was there, it's not. It's really not. We're just in the same division.
Right.
Honestly.
And you guys just kill us.
Right. We'll get our one win every 4 years. That's amazing. Cool. Right. But this is different. This matchup is different. And I think I'm expecting Josh to come locked in from the beginning. I'm expecting everybody to come locked in from the beginning. I mean, Stephon Diggs, after that Jets game, it was against the Jets, and we can keep saying whatever we want about the Jets, but to do some of the things that Stephon Diggs, I mean, he threw a defensive back to the ground on one of the catches. His spin move, juke spin move, whatever that combo was to get that first down, where he was just throwing guys to the side. Yeah. I mean, he made some ridiculous catches as well on the sidelines. I mean, if that
his one sideline touchdown
was ridiculous.
I mean, he clearly had an issue with Eccles, or whatever, however you say that name. Like, he clearly did not like that defender. The one that, I think it was Eccles, or I think that's how you say it. And he threw him, man. And I'm like, he don't like him very much. Like,
yeah. Yeah, but I mean, that one where Josh is getting hit as he's throwing the ball to Diggs and is able to complete that play. I mean, we've talked about this all season where that connection hasn't really been there. If it starts to heat up right now, I don't know who stops that.
Yeah.
Well, again,
I mean,
we
unless
talk
you're
about
double teaming him.
we're talking
and-
about players and teams who are elevating their games, and it looks like
Yeah.
maybe if Josh and Diggs are starting to connect, that's
Yeah.
another good piece to see where we're not hoping that Dawson Knox is getting,
Right,
8 catches or
targets
something. Because
I would say that Diggs has definitely looked more cerebral that game, and what I mean by that is when the ball was going to him, it seemed like he kind of knew where a defender was in certain places and knew what move to make to get them out of position to make the tackle. There was a time, I think, where he got it at about 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, and he should have been stopped at 5, if not 4, and he made it to the first down because he, again, the angles and the way he's moving his body, and he's got this anticipation that's starting to come, and you can kind of see it. And I think that is going to be huge going into this game coming up. And if they can keep doing that and he can continue to get better with it, which, he's already a great all around receiver, but if he can continue with it, it'll be something special to watch for this playoff run.
Right. I mean, yeah, there's a difference between being one of the best route runners in the league, but, not being able to make the catches and not being able to do that versus using your abilities as a wide receiver. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I think we all said that was Diggs' best game all year against the Patriots 2 weeks ago. I mean, and he just did it again on Sunday against the Jets. So, I mean,
feed him the ball. Feed him the ball.
I think
feed Singletary, and then, let Josh be Josh. And,
I was just going back to what you were saying. To wrap up my point, I'm expecting them to come locked in. You have a chance to avenge that Monday night home loss. You're the 3 seed. They're the 6. You won the AFC East for the second year in a row, something you have not done since the 90s.
Let's prove it.
That's what he needs, though, is that thing, like, to get the chip on the shoulder before the game.
Yeah. Or selling
your
salts,
chip.
but yes.
Yeah. I mean, the last game I remember of seeing him being locked in when he walked in was when Juju was dancing on the last year, season, when and Josh, I mean, he was revved up in his pregame speech to the team, and I mean, everybody was fired up and ready.
That Thursday night game, or I'm sorry, Thanksgiving game, Dallas.
Best
that
of
was
his career. That was his coming out party.
Yeah.
Well, and that was locked in, right? And so I think that's a big game, and again, now you're going to be playing the night game. I know it's not Sunday, but it's Saturday, and you're
all
playing,
eyes are still going to be on you.
Yeah, and so I think that sets him up for that same attitude to go into it, and which that's what you hope for, is what you want to see.
I mean, if they lose, I honestly think it's going to be because we didn't have superstar Josh Allen. And I'm not saying that the Bills need that to win, but I'm going to go. I agree with you. What you said, Dad, is this all rides on Josh. If we don't have superstar Josh Allen, I think
that's
this
a given,
game's going to be a lot tighter. But I think that if they do end up losing, which I don't think they will, but if they do, I think we're going to be looking back at that game going, man, Josh had some mistakes. We saw.
Here's one thing I will say, though, right? In game 1, right, when it was snowy and freezing and frigid and nobody could do anything, and right, they came out and ran the ball 50 times and threw the ball 3 times, right? They can still try that again and see if it works. And knowing our defense, it might work.
It's like a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the defensive line. It's like they're either going to stop it completely and shut it down, or they're just going to be a sieve. And it's like, and I'm just hoping that they come out and everybody's ready and locked in, and like your coordinators are going, okay, these are head coaching auditions, and and I mean all that kind of stuff, and and that's sort of what we're looking for. So
I mean, that's a good point too. Dable and Frazier should want to call the games of their lives.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, they should want to be on point. They should want everybody to be on point. I mean, this is part of their resume. The Bills win and they keep going and they keep going and going. I mean, to be able to say, hey, look at what we did, Miami. Look at what we did, Chicago. You know, this is what I did with the Bills. Look at we got this far. I'm not going to say that they're going to the Super Bowl, but
well, you beat Belichick twice, once at the end of the season, once in the playoffs. And you almost can say that, not that you're better than him, but how are you not like moved up a ladder there if you can beat one of the best in the league? Another point I wanted to make was, I think before the New England game 2 weeks ago, we all kind of talked, and I remember specifically talking about New England at that point, why we wanted to play them then. And I think I remember talking about how they were kind of on the downslide, and they were kind of, you want to play New England when they're down, when they're on their way down. You don't want to catch them on their way up or at the peak or anything like that. We wanted them 2 weeks ago exactly where we were. And you see and we said this before the game, that, that's the New England we want to play is the on the downside. And you saw the response from the offense, and you saw the way New England played, and it just seemed to continue. And then again, Miami, the loss, it just seemed to compound and continue. And so again, we're at a point now where they've lost three out of the last four, I think. And so I don't think you have any better of a chance than right now, and I think everybody realizes that the blood, like, Noah loves to say, the blood is in the water. You can smell it, you can feel it. And I think that again is going to be huge going into this game. Same mentality as it was 2 weeks ago, but just higher stakes. And I think the team that is more ready for that is us than New England, you have to say, by far, because of what our record has been over the past. So put it in perspective, right? I'll give you a team that just lost 3 out of 4, and I'll give you another team that just won 4 in a row. Who are you going to take? Without even knowing who those teams are. In most situations, you're going to say that the team that just won, that just won 4 in a row is going to be more prepared and more confident and all that good stuff. So I think that is a big part of it. And I just wanted to touch on that again, because we talked about it 2 weeks ago, and it seemed to be
it's even more relevant now.
Right. And it seemed to be impactful then. And so now you got to say, after 2 more games of them sliding, hopefully it'll work out. So I wanted to touch on that.
You wonder if Mac has hit a rookie wall.
I think there's debate.
I think when they protect him and they make him throw as limited as possible, I think he's fine. But I think you get into a game like, again, Miami or Indy or against us, where he's got to throw that ball, and he's not there yet. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the arm to make a huge play. Yeah, the receivers have been, especially when they were winning games, have been a little bit I don't know how to put it, like glitchy, where they'll get like a 10-yard reception and run it for 70 more yards. So it makes him look like he's doing a 70-yard play with a but in reality, it's a missed tackle,
it's a 7-yard slant. Yeah.
And those guys are taking off, and the wide receivers are the one that's doing the work, right? And I think that, with that being said, it's just, you're right. I agree. I just think that the more you put on him, the more he hasn't performed. And as long as we can get up, we get up early. Again, back to what we said 2 weeks ago, we get up early, and we keep the gas going. And let him try to make those plays where he's got to come back. Let him try, and honestly, nothing I've seen in the past 3-4 weeks where they've been down and he's tried to not worried about it. It hasn't worried me in those past 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, he hasn't shown he's Justin Herbert,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If this game comes down to Mac Jones and his arm, I think that's what the Bills want.
Didn't we have a conversation, just to touch on that Herbert thing a little bit? Didn't we have a conversation last week where I said, if there's 2 minutes left in a game,
which one do you want?
Of Indy, which one do you not want? 2 minutes left in the game, you're down by 4. Indy, New England, LA. I think that LA proved that point again, that you don't want to be again. You didn't want to play them if that was the case. If you're down by 4, or if you're up by 4 with 2 minutes left, because Herbert again just looked dialed in, and that was my point. And then he goes out and showcases it, Sunday night. And he was perfect on that drive. So
if I remember.
And it just blows you away. And it's like that even more so gets to the point of what we had last week of, no, we didn't want to, like, I think LA became scarier if they won that game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just don't want him to have the ball with 2 minutes left.
Yep.
With down a score, down a field goal, whatever the heck it is. You don't want him to, unless you're up by
You don't want him
points,
to have the ball. He's Josh. He's Mahomes.
especially 2 minutes. Yes.
He's in the same category as these top guys, top young quarterbacks in the AFC. You know,
100%.
I mean, that's what's going to make the AFC so fun for a while. And it's also going to make it suck because, you know, you're going to be nervous all the time.
Yeah. You have to win. You have to
all
win.
Of this.
Period.
Yeah. I mean, and it's going to be that kind of thing. But it's going to be great. I mean, you got a decade of this, you know, with really franchise quarterbacks in all these different places and other places trying to get some, you know, but we'll see how that all works out. So speaking of other franchises trying to get some franchises let some go. So it's been it was an interesting Black Monday. In the sense of most of the teams who we expected to fired people. Dave Gettleman retired, quote unquote retired. You know, as the GM of the Giants today they fire their head coach, Joe Judge. Everybody cleaned house in Chicago. They cleaned house in Minnesota. Jacksonville job, it was not given to whoever it was. Who was it? Gus Bradley or something who was there. So the Jacksonville job is.
I thought Gus Bradley was the coach like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I don't even know. Whoever was the interim guy, he didn't get the job.
Oh well,
coming back around
from Ohio State or something.
You know, it's going to be Bill O'Brien. I just have this feeling. I just have. Yes, I just have this feeling.
I was thinking Smart's going to go to the NFL. You guys don't feel that way?
No.
Are the positions there right for him?
I don't know. It looked like he coached good enough last night.
I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I mean,
well, yeah. No, don't ask Noah.
But like, my thing is this: is like on the biggest stage. Like, what else matters? In my opinion, you know what I mean? You do that on the biggest stage against one of the best teams, perennial championship team. You know what I mean?
But his players could go toe to toe, man. I mean, defense was so fast.
And you knew going into that game, I had a couple people tell me that they took the over last night, and I'm like, this game was set up for Georgia defense. You know what I mean? Like both team had good defenses. You know what I mean? Alabama's always got a great D. For some reason, I felt like Bama's line was undersized compared to what I'm used to seeing.
Yes.
I'm used to seeing
I thought
four guys, behemoths out there. And I felt like I saw a couple like hybrid guys, and I was that's a little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just wanted to know what y'all thought on that, because I haven't watched Smart very much. But man, I thought he did well last night.
Well, yeah, anytime you beat Nick Saban, you know, you're doing something right. And you know, I would be less surprised, honestly, to see Saban go to the NFL than I would be to see Smart go.
Why hasn't he gone yet is the question. Like, there's got to be something where he's
just sitting pretty. I mean,
I agree.
Highest paid coach. I mean,
highest paid coach
at Alabama of all places.
Right. He can get any recruit he wants. Right. I mean, and that's what it comes down to. And he's a good coach. I mean, and you know, he can get any recruit, he can get any coach he wants, you know, to come in and be an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. He could whatever. He could call up
that Urban Meyer
Sean McDermott, and McDermott would leave the Bills to be their linebackers coach or something. You know, I mean, it's that kind of thing where he has some kind of sway with everybody, you know. And so I don't know.
Like I said, I think the Meyer situation really, you know, makes guys who are coming up question, like, especially guys like that, you know, Myers, Saban, guys who are really good college coaches. And then you see him come into the NFL and really struggle and really have a target on his back. And, you know, I could understand not wanting to do that. You know what I mean? I could understand not wanting to be put through that, especially if, like you said, Todd, you got everything going for you, got all the recruits, you got everything set. You don't really need much. So why go to a question mark, right? Where you might taint or tarnish your your reputation or how you're viewed in long standing just to take an opportunity in the NFL. You know what I mean? So I think that has a
The
lot
only
to do with it,
reason
too.
the only reason you leave is if you're Pete Carroll and you know you've cheated and that all of
Yeah.
your championships are going to get taken away. And so you leave USC to go to Seattle.
Yeah.
You know,
Where you've
and
run that into the ground. Sorry, but
yeah. Speaking of coaches who
Should get fired.
should get fired, I
his
think they're
shtick got
For
old
Russell
with me
Wilson.
5 years ago.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know how the locker room still deals with it.
Well, we know him and Wilson don't get along. I mean,
Yeah.
there's at some point there's gotta
Something's got to give. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. They don't get rid of Carroll. Wilson's gone, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's plenty of teams lined up to trade for him.
Yeah,
so.
and I mean, if you're Russell Wilson, why would you go through another year under Carroll? Another year under a guy who
I
refuses to conform to the passing league that the NFL is, and is
Right.
still trying to get it done with
Yeah.
injured running back.
No,
Right.
I
I
read
mean-
this. Go ahead.
I know. I mean, I love Chris Carson, but the dude's
Yeah.
injured all the time.
No, it's hilarious, though.
Like,
It's
yeah, go ahead.
hilarious. It's just crazy how they do it. And I read this thing in a blurb from like Fantasy a few months ago, and they were like, "Oh, talking about Odell when Odell was a free agent. And Seattle was one of the places that he was considering." And what their response to that was, "Oh, he'll go to Seattle so he can run block from 3 wide sets."
Right.
And that's what they do. And it's like,
Mhm.
they're right. Like, why do you have
Yeah.
DK? Why do you have Lockett? You know, why do you have a quarterback as
Mhm.
good as him and you're still running out of 3 wide sets? You know what I mean? It's not the way of the NFL nowadays, unless you have a guy like Henry or Taylor or,
Najee Harris.
yeah.
Unless
Exactly.
you have the guy, like
One of those
that's it.
3 guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly.
it's one of those 3 guys.
Yeah.
I mean, right now.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's just so funny to read that because that's exactly what it is. It's like, have all these great things. And, you know, it's like, you're still
Right.
doing that. Like, okay.
I mean, on Sunday in Week 18, they beat Arizona
They threw the ball.
right on the back of Russell Wilson.
He looked great.
I mean, he had a rushing touchdown. I think he threw
Yep.
for 2.
DK
I
had
mean,
2.
Yeah, they won that game because of Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson showed up. And it's
Mhm.
like, why do you not want to do that? Why do you not trust him or whatever? Like,
Right.
why are you trying to not go
Yeah,
with
we're
that
all
guy?
on the same page with that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think it would be interesting to see him get traded in the offseason.
Yeah. I love
know,
this offseason. I think this offseason is going to be huge. I think you got to have
Yeah.
a couple guys go.
So, surprising coach who made it through so far is David Culley in Houston. He's done a nice job with Davis Mills.
Yeah.
Culley, you know, former quarterbacks coach of the Bills.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of nice to see the old man doing some work.
One of the oldest
Where's
coaches in the
Hackett?
NFL.
Where's Hackett at? I know I've heard his name recently.
He's the
Green
offensive coordinator
Bay.
for Green Bay. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's on everyone's list.
That's what I thought. I was going to say I've heard of him. Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of former coordinators, right? So
Yeah.
there's another one out there who I saw and I was like, oh, it was Roman, I think. And I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're still coaching, huh? Because it worked out so well for them. But so what job is most interesting? Like Giants, do we think?
If I'm a if I'm a coach, which one am I
coach.
picking? Oh, that's a good question.
Miami?
Yeah. That's
Well,
what I was
yeah.
about to say.
I mean, they're out of the jobs available, they're one of the quickest rosters, if not maybe Minnesota.
Oh yeah, actually Minnesota's probably top for me. I mean, the other defense is kind of shambles, but
you can
I do
sign
like
some
Cook
guys.
and Thielen and
Get rid
Jefferson.
of Cousins, bring in a real quarterback. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've never liked Cousins. I don't know why. I don't know. He's not a flashy guy.
He was my guy at Michigan State, and I have just despised
I'm a big
him
Michigan
in the
State guy,
NFL.
but basketball, not football.
It's just Noah's school, you know.
Yeah.
No, I love Michigan State in basketball. You know, March Madness, I take them all the time. I
Yeah.
like how they play.
Generally
They're tough. Yeah. They're always a tough out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Miami or Vikings, pretty much.
I think though there is something to say for the Chicago job, because I mean, if you're a young head coach who can come in there and you get to work with Justin Fields and you get to sit down and design the whole offense around him and what he can do as a passer, what he can do as a runner. I mean, I think that's fun. I mean, that offensive line is terrible.
Here's the deal on the Chicago job, though. You have to believe 100% in Fields.
Fields is the guy, yes, and I'm not convinced, but I agree. You're right. You do have to feel that way, and it would be interesting to see what someone else could do. I didn't see him progress in the way that I wanted him to this year, and I know it's tough.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to say what I'm sure every Chicago fan will say is that was Nagy.
And the line.
And that offensive line is god awful. But
yeah.
But Justin Fields did have his flashes. He did have his moments. You know, when he got his when he was able to take advantage of some opportunity. Yeah,
I remember a couple plays at most, maybe like 3 plays where you saw the whole season where you were like, whoa. I remember one close to the end zone where he did a run and he faked the guy who went right. The guy totally bit and he just kind of ran around to all these other guys. And it was very backyard football-ish and he made it look good. And I remember that specifically, but there wasn't enough of that. That's kind of what I'm getting at, I guess.
I mean, I think what Chicago needs is they need somebody who's creative. So, I mean, you know, I think you're looking at a younger guy. You're looking at a guy like Hackett. You're looking, you know, Bieniemy.
Well, why not take Roman? Yeah. Why not take Roman and do the exact same thing Baltimore did for the past 3 years? Put him in shotgun and
build an offensive line. And
if you're not confident,
they just need an offensive line. Yeah,
because I see Fields as kind of a similar thrower, similar runner, similar as Jackson, right? And I just think that someone along those.
He's
lines,
a lot bigger though, isn't he?
Weight wise?
Yeah, like height and weight.
I would say they're about the same height. I don't know if he's bigger.
Really?
Lamar Jackson is 6'2", 212 pounds, and Justin Fields is 6'3".
See, he's way bigger.
I don't know the weight though. Doesn't give the weight.
It's good. Doesn't give weight.
228.
Okay,
so almost identical.
Out.
He's 6'3", 228 for Fields.
And what was
6'2",
6'2", like 212 or something.
Okay, so he's a bigger guy, so he could technically take hits better, right? I mean, in theory,
theoretically, yeah. Okay. Whatever. I thought he was like 6'4", 6'5", something like that. Clearly, I'm wrong. Maybe it was the spikes. Maybe it was the spikes last time I saw him. You know, when it must have been. So, okay. So it sounds kind of like there's an appeal to every job except New York. But the appeal for me to New York is that you get to burn it down and build it up, right?
Which seems to be what a lot of guys like to do.
Yeah,
especially
and you also get to do that with Galladay and Tooney as well.
Tony, yeah,
I was gonna say I call him Tony, but yeah,
it is Tony. Yeah,
okay.
And Barkley, if you believe in Barkley, I don't know where people stand on him.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he's a step up from McCaffrey, right? As far as being trustworthy.
Oh,
I don't know, but
maybe.
But I mean, I don't know.
We talked about this earlier. His juke, his cut, his first step is not like it was.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the Giants' defense is just so bad. Like it's just so bad. Like it's.
I think they're better on the. I think they're better on the back end than people think. I think Bradbury is better than doesn't get enough credit. They're a very zone heavy team. And even big wide receivers as far as I know, didn't have very good games against New York defense. Yeah. I just don't remember one wide receiver just having like a 200-yard or 150-yard. I don't think that happened against them. I think on the back end, they're okay.
They have a 1 and a 2 as the CB, and then I think they have question marks really everywhere else.
Oh, yeah. Well, linebacker, I'd say they're okay if Martinez comes back next year.
healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know who.
And then they
else.
have Leonard Williams, but
who's just been around for years that you don't even know what team he's on till you see him make a sack on a game.
that's
right. Right. But the Maras are good owners, right?
Yep.
We think. I mean, we assume at this point they're still good owners, or have they gone senile? Like
I mean, I guess there's like, to me, there's
um,
Jerry Jones and everybody else. Like Jerry
as
Jones,
far
I hate.
as-
Oh, I just dislike him very much. I just hate how he's always like, I'll do every time I watch a Cowboys game, I'll do an over under on how many times the TV will go to Jerry Jones in his box, and it's got to be like
whoever's
got to be 8 or
box.
9 times a game, and it's just like, do you see a quarter, or do you see another owner on the field or getting that much? You don't, and I just I don't know. So I guess to me it's Jones, and then like as long as you're not like trying to get more attention than the team, you're good in my book. Right. And that's kind of how I view Jones, is he just tries to get too much attention.
Right. So. Like where's my pan camera angle to Kim Pagula and Jerry sitting in their box? Like,
no, I will say they gave they did show Kim.
Fine.
They did show Kim. Not in the box, but they showed when they were giving out the $100,000 awards to the 5 different companies or whatever. They showed her during the game.
But again, that's not,
still like set up. That's not.
That's part of what they're doing. You know what I mean? They're not going to not give like they're not going to not. But I'm talking about Jones is just sitting in his damn press box, or comes down to the field and is on the sideline for whatever reason.
Well, they always want to see who's in the box, right? Because like when they were playing, whoever they finished up against, did they finish up against the Giants?
No, Philly.
Okay, yeah. Because I went to my wife. I went, Chris Christie's in his box, and she was like, "Really?" Yeah, that's what she said. And I'm like, "Well, I'm like, that's what she said." It was really strange. It was just really strange. And I was like, "Yeah, that's Chris Christie talking to Jerry Jones. Like, is that supposed to be happening?"
Is that not worry? If I'm on that team, would that not worry anybody on that team? Like,
that's
I don't.
So weird.
Like,
it was really strange. I mean, and I said to her, I'm like, well, Philly's really close to New Jersey, so maybe it's a thing, but well, Christie's. I mean,
logically, logistically speaking, yeah. I mean,
so I mean, it's just Jerry Jones making more friends, I guess. I don't know, but
that's the friend you want right there, dude. Chris Christie.
Man,
bro. Yeah. Keep him around.
COVID, please.
See where he's at in 5 years.
No comment. So
whatever. But yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, it was just like I said, it was surreal. I was like, wait a second. Wait.
Yeah.
Wait,
but do
really?
you think okay, so okay, to the point then. Are they genuinely friends, or will he get more attention by bringing these people?
I think it's because he gets more attention.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So it's like, oh well, who can I put in here to make everybody be like, oh, what the heck is he doing? And that's what he got. And
I feel like another owner they do that with, like not to the same extent, but is Arthur Blank of the Falcons.
He does.
He doesn't come off as
he doesn't come off as like
pretentious.
a pretentious. But I feel like another guy who gets his screen time is Arthur Blank. Like,
well, Dan Snyder got his screen time till he didn't anymore.
Well, yeah, that's true. Right.
I recall the Super Bowl between New England and Atlanta, and I remember
Blank showed him every 5 seconds.
Oh my god, I remember him being out there like all that. That's
well,
why
he came down on the field like at the end of
halfway through the game.
Yeah, and that was
like,
crazy.
There he is. There he is.
He's still standing there. He's still standing there. Yeah.
He's still talking to whatever assistant he's standing with. Like,
right.
Yeah. Throw to Julio.
Right.
Like, what
I'm paying him. I'm paying him. Throw the guys I'm paying.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's interesting. My guess is that, or I heard an interesting one about some team wanting to take Joe Shine from the Bills,
there's been a couple teams who have put in requests. Chicago, Minnesota. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants put in a request now too.
And what they were saying is that maybe Shine, whatever his name is, and Dable would come as a come together,
Yeah, he's like,
to wherever.
is he the assistant GM?
He's the assistant GM
Okay.
or the player personnel guy or
Yeah,
whatever.
the vice
He's-
president of personnel operations or whatever.
Personnel, bills, operations, personnel, player,
Yeah.
interview, review, video, commentary.
Something to make me sound better. Yeah.
Yeah. Assistant to the owner as
Right.
well.
Assistant to the general manager.
Yeah, so I
A
mean,
bunch of Office references today. I like it. I like
it.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the jobs, I mean, I think the only one that you don't want is New York. Unless you're the coach who wants to come in.
If you're old, you don't want New York.
Yeah.
If
if
you
you don't have a lot of
burn
time,
it down and reestablish, and you can get a commitment from the Maras,
right? To be like, give me time to make this right.
Right.
Like,
well, think
what
about this though.
What about Denver?
Okay, well, before we get to Denver, real quick, but think about if you're like a guy like you just said, like a guy that wants to tear it down. Think about if you could get that job before they hire the GM, and what that would mean for A, your job security, and B, what you want to do moving forward.
Yeah.
That's huge for coaches. If you can get a GM that you almost handpicked. Exactly. And so that's what I'm saying. So it's like you get a guy that you can handpick that is going to pretty much be not a yes man, but just kind of agree with a lot of the fundamentals of what you agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Man, I don't know much coaches that wouldn't want that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an interesting part too.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing, you know how I was reading that Jeffrey Ross, he still owns Miami, right? That Stephen Ross, whatever.
Jeff Ross does the comedy roasts.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying. Yeah. So I mean, I have the name wrong, but
the Miami firing.
That he wants Watson so bad, but Watson only wanted to go there because of
Flores.
Because of Flores.
Yep.
And so now they're basically not going to get Watson.
That's hilarious.
Because he's basically mad at Miami. He doesn't want to go there. Like, he doesn't want to go there now.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
I mean, something that I read was that Flores basically was ready to move on from Tua. And he said that at the end of the year meetings, you know, that he kind of hinted at maybe.
Did you call them Florida?
Huh?
Oh, Flores.
Tua. I said Tua.
Oh, were you saying Flores was ready?
Flores. Yeah, Flores.
I thought you said Florida.
Well, like, maybe Florida.
You were calling Miami, Florida. But go ahead.
But anyway. that Flores said, you know, at those end of the year interviews that they have, you know, maybe it's time to move on from Tua. Maybe he's not the guy to get it done. And, you know, and that Stephen Ross and that Greer got into Ross's head. Well, let's just fire Flores and we'll keep Tua and we'll keep my job and we'll just find somebody that wants to work with Tua and make him better. And then that's why Flores was fired. I don't know if it's true.
So they're going to hire a retread.
Maybe.
They're going to be one who hires like Jim Caldwell or somebody like that.
There's a huge chance here that Miami just kind of keeps on keeping on. And because Tua and Greer are tied. Because Greer drafted him before he brought in a head coach. So their careers are linked now. So, I mean, if Tua crashes and burns, so does Chris Greer's or Will Greer or whatever the heck his name is. His career as the GM of Miami.
Greer.
Yeah.
Out the door. Okay. So what about Denver? Is that exciting or is that a place you don't want to go? Ownership's up in the air.
Well, you locked in all three of those wide receivers for multiple year deals, I think, this year, right? So you got Sutton, you got Judy, and you got Patrick. Lining them up against some of the better tandems in the league, I was a little confused as to why they did that. Yeah. But you could see that they were trying to keep them together, obviously, and they have confidence in that. And I think that with the right signal caller, he could make them good. But again, you need to get the right guy. You know what I mean? Like if you blow it on a quarterback for the fourth time in a row, it's still not going to matter who you pay.
I mean, as long as John Elway isn't making the decisions, I think that's fine, and he's not.
But who knows what's going to happen at all because of their ownership situation now, and you know, they could sell at any point, and they don't have to take the highest bid, right? Like that was the deal now.
Wow.
They can choose who they want to be the next owners. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a coach, that does scare you. I mean, in terms of what if the new owners come in and are like, well, we want all our own people after a season, so bye. Like, then you're out of the job. But I mean, I think this kind of goes hand in hand with New York, where it's like, you know, you have the ability to bring in your own guy, you know, draft your own quarterback. I mean, I think this is the end of Drew Lock, right? I mean, I don't think that the next guy is going to be like, yeah, let's keep going with this experiment.
I think they're going to move on from Bridgewater too.
I had this idea that Drew Lock would be the Bills' backup next year.
Nah.
Not the worst idea.
I mean, if Trubisky moves on, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I heard that there's a few teams that are considering Trubisky for a pretty high round pick, but I don't know how legitimate that was. That I heard that a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
Yep. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Let's get our offensive linemen.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about with the Giants that makes that job intriguing is that they have 2 picks in the top 8 or something like that.
Well, yeah, then that's intriguing to a guy who wants to come in and burn it all down.
Right. And they could, I'm sure they could trade Barkley away, you know, to some team that thinks he has something left in him, and or to Seattle, and you know, that kind of thing.
First round pick
to Seattle.
Let's give it away again.
Yeah.
2026.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's our coaching carousel for the day. We'll get into this more as more coaches get fired. We just wanted to say that the Sabres exist. Tonight is Jack Quinn's, I was gonna say premiere. Debut. Yeah, that's the word. It's Jack Quinn's debut, which is super exciting.
Losing 4-0, so
it's super exciting. He's probably a -4, right? So but so the Sabres suck, but they're fun. But they're becoming less fun. I have noticed that. Oh, okay.
So Subban's in. So that's why Kucherov has his second of the night.
Okay. Well, and the other thing is they're also playing Tampa. So I mean, you knew they would lose 11-2 or whatever. So Sabres exist. We're probably going to start sprinkling them in a little bit more because, you know, football season's winding down a little bit, but we really won't hit on the Sabres much until football season's pretty dead, at least in the Buffalo mindset. And then you know, I think when it comes to this weekend, you know, I think we're all thinking the same thing. Bills should have this. You know, better in talent. New England has the coaching, I suppose, but McDermott's no slouch.
I mean, in my opinion, I think if the Bills lose, we're going to be sitting here next week going, well, the Bills lost because this went wrong. They didn't do this. This went wrong. Like, we're not going to sit here
and say... Don't we do that every time they lose?
Well, but I'm saying we're not going to sit here and say that New England beat us. Like, I don't think New England is going to come in on Saturday and beat us. Like, I think it's going to be our mistakes.
Like, run the ball 50 times and pass it 3. And
like,
say,
you know, it's going to. Josh has 2 interceptions that turn up to be huge. Like, this game, the defense is shaky and keeps the game close. Like, it's going to be like those kind of things that have happened, where we're going to be sitting here going, "There it is."
Okay.
Again.
Jerry Hughes was non-existent, so it's time to go. You know, whatever. That kind of thing. But either way, it's time for Jerry Hughes to go. Anyway, though he does still get pressures. I mean, he's still a pressure machine. He just doesn't get sacks.
Too slow.
Yeah, but not so enough to get pressure or whatever.
It's like, yeah, he's like fast enough to be able to beat
To
a
burst.
tackle and get through, but he's not fast enough to finish the pressure. Like,
Yeah. It's really strange. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
an enigma. But
always has been.
yeah. CJ, parting thoughts.
Score prediction.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to do our scores. Okay.
Yeah, we got to do scores, and then we'll get into.
Final thoughts.
Let's just do scores, and then we'll do finals. All right.
Noah.
28-14.
Bills.
Yeah.
CJ.
I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. 27.
You did
60.
it again.
27-17.
All right, I'll do it. I'll go 35-21.
All right.
All right.
First time I've gone in the 30s all year.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
it'll be the 22 or whatever you've been
17.
going.
Yeah.
Right. That'll be the exact score.
That'll be hilarious if it is. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Parting thoughts, CJ.
Yeah, I just think again, like we touched on earlier, going into this game, God, why do we talk about Miami so long? New England is on a slide, and I think that this is our opportunity to put them away for the rest of the year. I think that has to be a big part of what's going on. We're on our way up; they're on their way down. We need to continue the motivation. We need to continue the success, and we need to continue we need to continue to have the momentum that we've had for the past 4 games. And if we do that, we'll be fine.
Well said.
Yes.
I got nothing I haven't said already. So Noah, parting thoughts.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. You know, just win. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if it's off. I don't know if it's something dumb. Just win the game. Just win, please, for everybody's sanity.
And punt
well.
Yeah.
God,
don't punt off the side of your foot.
Yeah, whatever.
What the heck are we doing?
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Take us home.
All right. If you have made it to the end, again, we always appreciate you for watching. Interact with us, like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube. We are on Twitter, Gameday716. You know, we're active. You know, we also have lives. So, but with that said, stay happy, stay healthy, wear a mask, and we'll see you next time.
Stay sunny, Buffalo.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.